Welcome back to the Muzzle Break podcast. I'm Josh, your host, and this is Brian, my co-host. We talk about the gun industry every week, new stuff, things we have here in the shop, and current one subject that we want, and current events, and all that good stuff. So, welcome back, and hopefully the sound and the video quality is better. We can thank Jason over at Radio Made Easy. Well, he's associated with Radio Made Easy. He actually has Ridge Runner Knife Company down in North Carolina, and he does a lot of good stuff with podcasts, and he came and helped me out with all this stuff. So big shout out to you, Jason. Thank you very much for taking the time to make this all more bearable for everybody watching. So unfortunately, but so I guess the first thing I got to talk about, we had this company, Crate Knife Company. I know they've been around a while, and they're a little bit more cost effective out the front knife. I think that they're, along the lines of Cobra Tech or that Templar Knife Company. It's good stuff. It's going to be here in the shop. I appreciate them sending out a knife for us to demo and use. So out the front knife here in Pennsylvania, we are now allowed to use and carry out the front knives, automatic knives. So pretty cool. I really like it. I think it's got a nice carbon fiber finish. It has some nice red accents. There's going to be all kinds of different models of these that they'll have. It's got a lifetime warranty, which I like. D2 stainless, which is a moderately nice stainless steel. It's got a nice edge on it. Decent little knife for the money. So come in and take a look, and we will have these on the shelf here shortly. So cool little knife. Brian, what'd you bring it for us to look at today?
The Radiant M4. I don't know if you guys can.
Yeah, that's in frame. Cool. Yeah, that's
probably my favorite. Let me move this. It's probably my favorite gun that we have in the shop, just because I'm a AR nut. But
tell us about all the features that you like on it, and I'll talk about the stuff that I like.
So
you can hold it up beside you there. You got plenty of room on the
right here.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So just right off the bat, if you like grab a hold of this thing, didn't you say it's like completely one bolt, like bolted right to the frame?
Yeah, it's like
there is no movement in this gun.
Super
zero movement
rigid
in this gun.
Yeah, they've got that four pin monolith type system on that. That is a beefy fore end.
And then there. Like the beefy, like where you go to put your mag in, they almost made it bigger and beefier, so it's easier for mag feeds and fast, like changing out your mag fast. I don't know. It looks badass. The charging handle's badass. It's, I mean,
all like ambi controls, which makes a difference for
me.
You.
Yeah, left-handed. I know Peter is, he's our sound tech guy, but he's a anti-left ambi guy. But it helps me out. Yeah, it's. I'm surprised it's actually still on our shelves, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit. They're a little bit pricey, and we don't get a ton of them in. It does have their trigger drop-in trigger group, which is really nice. It has their ambi controls. What's cool about their design is when you want to lock the bolt latch back, you can pull back on the bolt carrier group and then push the magazine button to lock this thing in place, as opposed to using the either the slide stop itself, or like HK and POF, they have this little button here underneath the trigger, which isn't bad either. But it's kind of cool that the magazine release is also something that will hold open the bolt carrier group. So pretty cool rifle. They do a lot of really innovative stuff as far as mating their upper and lower together. This is like just the beefiest lower that you've ever seen in your entire life. I mean, they just make it, everything's overbuilt. Like if you want a light rifle, this is probably not the light fight rifle that you want, but look how beefy that lower receiver is on the inside. It's just a monster of a gun. Really awesome stuff, Radian. Always like your stuff.
And what's it? What can does that attach to right now? Is it
it's a chemo. It's a chemo system. Yeah. So chemo comes with a chemo, or it comes with a Huxworks, I believe, just like Sons of Liberty does. So yeah, that's an awesome rifle. It's in their OD green. It's got a stainless steel nitride finish on the barrel, which is
Magpul
sweet.
stock, Magpul
stuff. It's got all the good stuff, and then Radiant stuff that they make in house. So yeah, it's a super great rifle. If you need one, we got one here in the shop, ready to go, set up for you. Now, so those are the two products we got for you this week.
Remember we were talking about how many rounds?
How many rounds is what?
Remember,
like as far as between cold hammer forged and like just a button broach barrel. Like a standard rifled barrel. They say I think between 5 and 6, and you can just double that with 1,000. You can double that with a cold hammer forged barrel for sure. So yeah, top tier quality stuff that goes into this rifle. So really nice stuff. So anyways, so let's get into, we've got some upcoming classes here. We've got one here internally at the shop. It's going to be a 1-day pistol course. And then we next month we have Radio Made Easy's coming in with Evan Dixon. He is an awesome teacher. You should just come just to learn from his teaching style. But we're going to be talking about radios, all the things that are involved with learning how to operate them and learning how to use them in a personal setting, on your home, your homestead, whatever, with your family, with friends, and even out through your community. Like I said, the last time, he was involved right outside of Asheville, North Carolina there. So, that place has been completely devastated, and he's been instrumental in making sure people are getting connected together. EMS, he was saying he was sending backpacks full of radios into North Carolina. But yeah, he is a super talented guy in the way that he teaches, and the way that he's kind of condensed all of this information that's out there in the radio world, and made it practical for the average user, to get a down and dirty, knowledge of how ham radio operates, and the way to implement all of the things that are involved with ham radio. There's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on in the radio community, and these guys really don't like what he's doing, but I think it's great because he's giving information to the common man, so that the common man can use a tool in his arsenal to live more independently from, the grid. That's the thing. Your cell phone only works if the cell towers and the satellites are all working, and that's not always the case. So it's a cool skill. I'm gonna grab a radio really quick, and let Brian talk about the other class that we've got coming up with the basic handgun.
Yeah, so we're just gonna do the shop basic handgun class. Just for anybody who wants to get into shooting, wants to feel more comfortable with their pistol, wants to, EDC pistols, everyday carry. I know a lot of people like to carry weapons, male, female, anyone that wants to hone in on their skill sets of shooting. And I think this is a place, like Josh has mentioned before, that we're kind of like growing as not just a gun shop, but to be like, teaching people. This is going to sound a little cliche, but more deadlier with like protecting their family, protecting themselves, because you never know, when you're going to get in a shitty situation.
Yeah. I was having a conversation this week, and it's like, why don't you bring in an IPSC shooter to teach people how to shoot? I'm not really concerned about playing a game. Like, games are fine. I think that, there are a lot of people out there that can shoot really fast and really accurately, and they play against the clock, and that's all fine and good. And, it's happy, all the happy horse shit that you want to do and hold hands and kumbaya. And it's like, great. Yeah. You can have all of these people come out here and teach you how to play a game. Well, like what we're talking about here is like real life, right? Yeah. And real life has no rules. That person is going to try to kill you. And you need to be better. You need to be more accurate, more conniving, more thrifty with your movement and time, and be able to outsmart that person. So, we're a big proponent of, learning skills so that you can protect yourself, your family. That's what this whole place is about, is just teaching people about history, about because you don't know where you've come from. If you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. So we teach people about history. We teach people about life-saving skills. We teach people about how to become more independent, away from our government, away from any kind of things that you might see in your life as being dependent on, whether that's different grid structures or government structures. You should be able to live independently from all of that stuff. So I'm not anti-government. I'm not anti-infrastructure and convenience and stuff like that, but it doesn't always work, and it's not going to always be there for you. That's just a plain and simple thing. We can see that through the annals of history. So like this radio is awesome. This is the B-Tech radio. This is one of the cornerstones of Evan's company. He's sold a ton of these radios. We have the ability to program this stuff here in shop under his expertise and guidance, and we have the ability to train you how to use this stuff through his teaching time, that when he comes here and does this radio here, I can do everything that your cell phone can do. I can talk to people. I can talk encrypted to people. I can text people. I can send data files. I can send all kinds of APRS packages and packets and stuff like that through this little radio. Not much money. This is about the third of what your cell phone costs. Okay. It doesn't have a cell phone plan, right? Like, so like you're not dependent on somebody, paying a bill and, making sure that, but this does everything that you do with your cell phone, except for like Instagram and Facebook and all that kind of social contagion that we participate in. This is a great tool to have in your arsenal. Now, like, this is not going to replace this. Like, there's just nothing that's going to replace, having a cell phone at your disposal. Like, that is a cornerstone to all of our lives. I get it. It's the easiest communication to text somebody, but knowing how to use something like this in a time of need, his course is 0 to hero, and you are going to be a hero by the time you leave that course, because you'll be able to use something like this where most people haven't taken the time to learn the skill. And if you come into the shop and just buy one of these, he has a great little saying that I love: possession doesn't equal proficiency, right? Like, you can own this, but it doesn't mean a hill of beans, because if you can't use it and apply it to your everyday life, it's whatever. It's here in your hand, but you can't use it. So it's a pile of shit as far as I'm concerned. Okay. So come out, learn. You're going to love it. Everybody's going to love it. If you've taken it, gift that class to somebody else. That's radiomadeeasy.com, and you're coming to the class in Stoneboro, Pennsylvania. We've had people come out from Maine. We've had people come out from the Midwest, from down south. We are one of the more northern locations that he enables people to come and take part of the class. So come out and enjoy that. So next up on the docket, so like, I wanted to touch on this, and this is something we wanted to do in the early episodes, just so you get to know us better as people. Brian has been working for me for the last 7-8 months or something like that, 7-8 months. And he comes from a military background. He was in the Army. He served, how long did you serve in the Army?
Almost 5 years.
5 years, okay, in the Army. And what was your? We just want to get into your experience, because like, you're one of the rare guys that actually got into real combat, was able to do a lot of neat stuff in the military. So just kind of tell us, like, we'll just start at the beginning, and I'll probably I'll probably jump in and ask some questions so that we can clarify for people that maybe don't know some of the terminology that you're talking about, or maybe don't know the exact places or whatever. We're just gonna clarify real quick, and we're gonna have a good time just having this conversation about your military service. So let's talk about it.
So I went to high school, went to college for a little bit, decided it wasn't for me. My stepbrother, he had joined the military first and went to the 82nd, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do in life, so I kind of found myself at the recruiting station as well. And like I said in the first episode, I kind of just was like, throwing a dart in the dark. I didn't know which branch. I didn't know what I wanted to do. You go in there and it's kind of like everyone swarms you like, hey, come here, come there. There were a couple of branches. I want to say it was the Navy and the Marines had like a strict tattoo policy. Don't quote me on that, but so the Army guy had come out and he was like, hey, you want to come in my office? So I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to you, whatever. And so I went in there and he's like, tell me about your story, your background, blah, blah, blah. And we got to talking and stuff like that. And he's like, have you taken the ASVAB? And I was like, no, I haven't done any of that stuff. And he was like, all right, take the ASVAB. And then, so he had me take it right in the office, and because they have like computers and stuff set up.
So how many number 2 pencils did you eat before you finished?
It was actually all on the computer. It was all on the computer.
You didn't think that the keys were Skittles and eat some of the keys too.
No, it was
for context, everybody. For context, for you guys watching, Brian is I'm 6 foot, but Brian's 6'5", and he's like 265 some pounds right now. Like he's a big boy. Like he's somebody that you wouldn't walk down the street and pick a fight with him, or pull on his beard hairs, or spit in the wind, or pull on Superman's cape or anything like that. So like, yeah, I'm sure that you were a recruiter's dream. They saw you walk through the door and they were like,
well, I mean, at that point, like everyone was, because it was during wartime. For sure. So like a lot of these military branches, like you could get a waiver for everything back then.
Oh yeah.
So like, and the Army guy was like,
they were throwing bonuses at everybody. They threw a bonus. Sure. I walked into the recruiter's office and they're like, this is what we're paying. This is what we're paying. Every branch was trying to get you to walk through the door because they had a bonus that they were going to give you. And I couldn't wait. I was just like, oh, I can't wait to graduate basic training and get a Hyundai Tiburon. That's what I was like. Oh, I can't fucking wait. Just like yeah. I had huge aspirations as a teenager, huge.
But yeah, like I did my ASVAB, and he's like, all right, so this is what you can do, because they kind of give you like a sheet of like, okay, you scored this, blah blah blah. And dude, to be honest with you, like he was like infantry, blah blah blah, truck driver, mechanic, you know what I mean? And nothing like that sounded like I don't know, it's just my personality. I don't know if I was just like, just sign me up for infantry. Like I can't remember. Like I just can't, like, I don't see myself doing anything else. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. And I didn't realize that, like, and I'm not downgrading anyone's military service by this, but like there's always this ongoing joke of like everyone else that isn't combat arms in the military. It's like fucking pogue, blah blah blah, you know what I mean? But like, so did all that, went home, told my parents. A couple months later, I went to basic training in Fort Benning, and got to 30th AG, which if anyone is familiar with the Army, they all know what 30th AG is. They bring you in this big room, and that's where you're getting your head shaved, your shots, all your you're in processing basically.
Yeah. Did they ask you like if you wanted to keep your hair?
No.
Do you want to keep your hair like that Toby Keith song was like, hold out your hand, son, here it comes, right? Yeah.
And like you go in this fucking barber, and these barbers are like, next man. Go in the cafeteria, they're serving you slop and that Fort Benning. Next hero. They were just like, and I met some like great dudes during like the in processing and stuff like that, but you all get split up eventually going down to basic. So you spend a couple weeks at 30th AG and like you're getting your cat card and all your uniforms and stuff to go down to basic training. So finally, like they call everyone who's going to be in my group or whatever. And they're like, all right, you guys are leaving tomorrow. Just like the fucking movies, the buses show up, you get on the buses with your duffel bags, and then you just start driving down whatever road in Fort Benning to get to Sand Hill, which is like where basic training is, called Sand Hill. And so we get off the bus and you pull up and it's like literally like the movies. Like you pull up and all these round hats are just standing there waiting for you. Fucking guy gets on the bus. You got 5 fucking seconds to get the fuck off this bus. So we get off the bus. They had just built these barracks in Sand Hill, and they're throwing like arty sims at us, and it was kind of like we had to go up.
What's an arty sim?
Like a fake explosive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were they making noise and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Blowing up shit, like fucking shooting blanks, like just doing crazy stuff. So like and it was at an incline, so because they had just poured the pad because this is all brand new barracks. It was at an incline up to the pad, and I remember getting off the bus, and I was next to this, like you could tell this kid was like out of shape, and he was like small, and he just didn't want to be there. It was like, and we're running up the hill, and I got my duffel bag above my head, and I remember one of the drill sergeants, like, because they pick that shit out, like if you're weak, they're picking you out.
Yeah.
He goes. Don't worry, fat ass. There's just a war on terror right now, and you can go home and suck mommy's titties. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I get up the hill, right? I get up the hill, and they're like, everyone get in the rock pile and put your fucking duffel bags over your head. Until we get up there, and I'm putting my duffel bag over my head. Dude next to me is like shaking. He's shaking like a leaf. And I'm like, of course, you don't say anything because you're like nervous or whatever.
Yeah. You don't want to step out.
Yeah, you don't want to be like that one.
You don't want to stand out. Yeah. And you probably stuck out like a sore thumb. Yeah. 6'5", like that guy. A big tree fall hard. Yeah.
Dude, fucking. I'm like, see, he's sucking next to me, and dude just pukes everywhere all over the rock, like in front of us. And I'm just like looking down, and the drill sergeant had seen him throw up, and he comes over and he goes, "You better pick that up and put it in your pocket." They fucking made him pick up the puke and put it in his pocket. So from then on, I'm like, wow, like this is fucking nuts. Anyway, so we like get in process there. We get our, like, everyone gets split up into 4 platoons first. I was in 1st platoon. And of course, the first night they're like, oh, you guys are going to sleep in till 6 o'clock, and then we're going to get up and do PT. They fucking came in at like 2 o'clock in the morning with like a fucking, like a bullhorn. A bullhorn. Get the fuck out of bed. It was just a lot of like games like that you couldn't win. You know what I mean? They're just testing you to like see if you'll quit or whatever. Like, like breaking you down to build you back up kind of thing. So anyway, went to basic, did all that jazz. Ended up getting like, because you have all those people, and like the flu goes around in your barracks.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because you have everyone from a different part of the country or the United States coming into one. It's like one big melting pot of sickness.
Tired. Yeah. You're tired. You're hungry.
So I got really sick. Like I had a fever, and like they ended up coming in and like you need to go to the sick call place. So they actually like brought me to this hospital for like 2 days or whatever. I ended up getting better. And they're like, all right, we're just going to bust you back out, because they're at the like machine gun range or whatever. So I get out there, and by this time, like our drill sergeants knew everyone who everyone was. They knew who the shit bags were. They knew who wasn't a shit bag. So he like, I get back out to the range. It was Drill Sergeant Felt. He was a cool dude. He was E7. He's like, hey, welcome back. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right, well, just get your rucksack unpacked, and like, we're going to stay out here, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, hey, he's like, I couldn't get you that Ranger contract because I needed your paperwork in time, but do you want to do airborne school? And I'm like, fuck, not really. And he's like, too fucking bad. I fucking put your name in for it. So I ended up graduating basic training. And then right from basic training, you go, because airborne school is right at Fort Benning as well. So you get picked up by the buses. You do your graduation. Your family comes. Blah blah blah.
So just to pause for a second. So you did want to go to Ranger Battalion like initially? Is that what you were?
I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know. I just thought like, is it something cool? Like, cause you go like most people that go in, they don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Unless you're like a war junkie, or like grow up watching like fucking SEAL with Charlie Sheen and shit. Like, you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the real. Shout out to Charlie Sheen. You're a real hero, bro. Yeah, we seen the cocaine use. That was impressive.
HIV and everything. So the family comes. You do your graduation thing. It's cool. It's at like the museum, the infantry museum, and so they pick you up for airborne. They give you like the weekend or whatever. They pick you up for airborne school, and so you go to airborne school again. You got to in process there, and they put you in per platoon. And there were some guys that I went with that were from my platoon, and my orders originally, they'll cut the guys that aren't going to airborne school orders and give it to them in basic. So my orders are originally to go to Germany.
Okay.
So I originally got cut orders to go to Germany, but they were like, no, this is wrong because you're going to airborne school. So go to airborne school.
How was that?
It was like, I mean, everything was easy about it, but it's like, dude, you get in that plane and you're like, I'm a fucking big guy. Like they open that door and it's like, and like, you're just like, what the fuck am I doing, dude? You know what I mean?
What was that like the first time you jumped out of a plane?
The first jump I did it with it was a T-11 parachute. It's their newer parachute. The Army came out with a newer parachute, and it was kind of like in the shape of a square, and it was gray. And they didn't tell us that like it's a way nicer. There's like, you guys are jumping with the new T-11 parachute. It's a nice parachute. They didn't tell us that like there's a huge difference between landing in the T-11 and the T-10 Delta. So I'm like, I jumped out with a T-11 first time, Hollywood jump. Hollywood means that you don't have any combat equipment on. So you're literally just jumping with a helmet and a parachute. So jump out with that. And I stuck that landing. I literally could have landed on my feet if there wasn't like a cadre out in the middle of the field being like, fucking keep your feet and knees together and fucking barrel roll. You know what I mean? So I did my whole parachute landing thing the first time, and I'm like, wow, that wasn't even that bad, and that was fun. So the next one, they're like, you guys are jumping in T-10 Deltas. We get rigged up or whatever, and it's a whole, the guy comes around, checks your chute or whatever. So I'm jumping, we get it was another Hollywood jump, but with the different chute. And I'm fucking get out of the aircraft, and like, you don't realize how fast you're going until you're about 100 to 75 feet off the ground, and you're like, "Oh shit, this one's gonna hurt."
Did they tell you how fast that you descend in that parachute?
They say it's like equivalent, and don't quote me on this, but this sticks in my head. It's equivalent to like jumping out of a 2-story building.
Well, okay, so but how fast is that?
They didn't tell us like speed or anything like that. But like, I'm sure somebody knows some information out there.
Put that in the comments below if you guys fight about that. Fight about how fast, Brian. How heavy were you at that point?
Probably around like 235.
235. He's 235, 6'5", jumping out
Hollywood
of the
jump. No combat
equipment. So you nerds in the comments, tell us what his terminal velocity was at that point. So go ahead.
Yeah. So landed like a shit ton of bricks, and I'm like, wow, this fucking sucks. Like, and we had like one Marine dude, he broke his leg on that jump. And
so in jump school, you've got Air Force, Army, Marine Corps,
because they can they can school out and get like slots in the school. It's not just for Army.
Gotcha. Okay.
So one of the Marine guys broke his leg or whatever, but you have to do a total of, is it 5 jumps in airborne school to graduate. So did all 5, graduated.
Did they come by and smack the wings into your chest?
Blood wings. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Blood wings. Yeah. So, and anyway, so I got
who was the guy that did you stare him? Did you give him the look whenever he came in and smacked you in the chest?
They just like do it quick. They like stick your wings in, boom, stand like fucking like hammer fist like your wings, and they did that with the cross rifles too, and basic training. And
is that why your nipples are pierced now?
Yeah. So graduation happens, And again, like I said before, they had cut my orders to Germany. So graduation happens and everyone, he's like, he like lets everyone go for the weekend. Cause then you're like, everyone's going to their unit now. Like you get leave, you get 2 weeks of leave to go home, fly home, whatever. And I'm like, I went up to one of the cadre and I'm like, I don't have orders. And there was like 3 or 4 of us that didn't have orders.
Sorry, cadre is like a drill sergeant, right?
Yeah, it's like the airborne cadre. They're like in charge of the school.
Yeah, that's just for clarification. For that.
And so he's like, oh shit. So they're like going back into the command building, and he comes out probably like a half hour later, and he's like calling off the 4 or 5 guys that were with me that didn't have orders, and he gets mine's last, and he like hands me the orders, and he's like, here you go. And I look down, and it's like, it says fucking Anchorage, Alaska, and I'm like, is this a fucking joke? And I'm like thinking in my head, like, am I gonna have to buy like a snowmobile? Are we gonna be living in fucking igloos? Like, what are we gonna be doing up there? Like, you know, because we live in Pennsylvania. Like, yeah. I mean, it snows here, but like nobody knows anything about fucking Alaska. I know there's like ginormous fucking bears and like Eskimos and shit. Thought we were gonna be fucking fishing for our food with Eskimos.
So we gotta be culturally correct. Inuits, you know, like we can't call them Eskimos. Like, can carry on with the Eskimo talk though.
So I came back for leave, and then I flew out of Pittsburgh to go to my unit, and flew into Anchorage. I want to say it was like the beginning of summer. So in that time, the sun don't really go down. Like, So like I got there, and it was probably like dinner time, and fly in. Of course, you're like at the international airport. It's not a military airport. You're at an international airport.
Did the Eskimos meet you on the tarmac?
No.
Nobody had a lay for you.
It was a small airport, and I'm like,
where's the lays? Where are the Eskimos?
Where the fuck am I supposed to go now? Like the military, I have no idea like what I'm doing or like what I'm looking for. So I found like,
how many were there other guys with you?
Just me.
Just you.
Because there was, I'll get to it, but there was an influx of dudes right before me.
Yeah.
So it was just me,
just walking around.
Yeah, I'm like walking around the airport
and salmon,
fucking duffel bag, like don't even know where I'm going. And finally, I found like the military. It was like I don't know, the CQ of the CQ is like the person on duty to like get incoming soldiers and bring them to base. So I'm like, hey, I need to get to Fort Richardson, and he's like, all right. So he drives me in this van to Rich, and get on post, and then again you got to in process on post, and that's like longer than basic training because you're in processing with the post, and then you have to in process with your unit. So once I got on post, it was like 2 weeks before I in processed with my unit, and then you're at your company. And I was at an Apache company, and I was at my company, and then you're another week before they decide, like, maybe it wasn't a little less than a week before they decide what platoon you're going to go to. So I was like hanging around with headquarters. I think we did PT. We like went out and walked this like nature trail for PT, because like everyone in headquarters was either like a broke dick or like they're just fucking worthless. Like,
like the geriatrics, old
like
folks,
the geriatrics of like the fucking company. So like I'm like with this guy, I think his name was Sergeant Spencer. He had the worst fucking haircut. He was fat. He was out of shape. He's like, we're gonna go do PT and this and that, because there's trails everywhere, and Alaska's beautiful. So we like go out and walk this trail with headquarters the next morning, and there's like a fucking moose, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Thing's just like standing there staring at us, and I'm like, dude, this is fucking wild. Yeah. So I ended up going.
Was it a bull moose? Did it have horns? Okay, cool.
And so I ended up going to second platoon, Dirty Deuce. They were called Dirty Deuce. And my first day getting the platoon, I'll never forget. And I get to he's like, all right, meet with the first sergeant. He's like, you're going to second platoon, and everyone's it's almost like I want to say like a collegiate dorm where like all the offices of like the leadership were downstairs, and then upstairs was like the barracks. So like first platoon had the first floor, we were on the second floor, and third and fourth platoon were on the the fourth floor.
And a platoon is how many guys in this setting?
How many guys did we have? Probably 30.
30, okay.
Somewhere around there. So he's like, you're going to second platoon. So I go, he's like, I'll bring you down to the office. And it was just my PL in there, which is the platoon leader officer.
Mm-hmm.
And I get to the door and I'm standing at attention, and he said, come in. And he's like, tell me about yourself, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, he's like, what'd you do before the Army? And I was like, I played a little college football. And he's like, oh, you like football? And he's like, yeah. And Lieutenant Carrazzo, he was like, he was an ex-college football player.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like, who's your favorite? He's from New York. He was like, who's your favorite NFL team? And I'm originally from Massachusetts, so I'm like, the Patriots. And he's like, just start doing fucking burpees. He's like, just start doing fucking burpees. He's a huge Giants fan, and the Giants beat New England twice in the Super Bowl. But so the platoon sergeant comes in, and it was Sergeant Botts at the time.
And you're doing burpees.
Yeah, I'm doing burpees. And of course you're like nervous to meet all these people because they've been to like fucking combat, and like you're like the new guy or whatever. And he's like looking at me, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck are you doing on my fucking floor? And I'm like, he's like, you the fucking new guy, blah, blah, blah. And so he called would be my squad leader at the time. I only had him for a little bit. It was Sergeant Rincon, and he comes downstairs and brings me to the second floor. And he's like, because they had put me in a different building to in process. Mm-hmm. He's like, you got fucking 10 minutes to go get all your bags, everything that you got, and it's like a half mile away. I gotta go to the fucking room, and it's a half mile away. So I'm fucking running across the fucking base, and they're playing fuck games with me. And I'm running across the base. I come back. It's like fucking 25, 30 minutes later. He's like, you're fucking late. Just start doing push-ups. And I'm like, oh fuck. And I could hear, like, because the company was out at the range, and I heard that like all come back, and like the half a second platoon lived down the hallway, and like, who the fuck is that guy? And they're just smoking it was him and I can't remember who the other dude was that was smoking the fucking shit out of me. They were like making me run to the flagpole. They did this for like, it was like 4 hours. And eventually Sergeant Summers, he was like the coolest fucking dude. Like, he went to Iraq with them, like just a cool natured like E5. And he was like, all right, that's enough. Like, they ended up actually giving me an IV because I had no water. Like, I had no water, and it was like they only stopped smoking me because the end of the day was like coming. And so like they were trying to break me to see if I'd fucking quit or whatever. But and then like Newsom, a guy named Newsom, and Kendall, which ended up being my roommate, came out, and they just saw me. They're like, they saw me in the hallway by myself, and they're like, it was Friday too. I got there on a Friday, and they're like, you want to come drinking? And I'm like, yeah, fuck it, let's go. So I like went over to Newsom's house, and we like, they were combat vets too, and they kind of like saw that I wasn't like being a bitch, so they're just like, fucking come hang out with us. Yeah. But anyway, so
were you the biggest guy in the platoon?
Yeah. So I was like fucking like a target, like when the beginning, and then I ended up like, but whatever. So like, ended up, because I didn't really understand like the whole new guy shit, and I thought I was the only new dude in the platoon, because they had just, what was it? They probably got back from deployment like 6 months before that. And so they knew that we were going to deploy again. And so it was constant training.
What kind of things did you do during training?
Shoot. Well, this is the thing. So like guys were constantly getting out. Like the older dudes were constantly getting out. Okay. And like our PL, like I can't speak highly enough about our PL. Like he was probably like the best soldier I have ever come across. He was just like a superhuman with PT. He was just, everything the dude did, like he did to like 1,000,000%. It was like actually incredible to like see, and it pushed everyone else in our platoon. So we we found out well, it was just assumed that we were going to deploy, and we definitely found out we were going to deploy eventually. And because of our PL, I think if you don't know like a lot about deployments in the military, like these basic Army companies, like you deploy to a providence where you're going, and then they disperse you to COPS, which is a command outpost. It's a small base, and you're doing basically patrols around that area of operation.
So is that specific to the war in Afghanistan, or was that specific to, or is that the standard operating procedure?
Yeah, that's the standard. I can only speak. I'm pretty sure it was like that in Iraq.
Okay.
But of course, Iraq was more like city.
Right. You know, it was urban. It was a much more urban environment. Yep. And desert and flat.
Yeah. But I'll get into like that shit when I talk about deployment. But they were like, one of these platoons is going to get lucky and become what they nomenclature FTF platoon, which is focused targeting force. So basically it was going to be this like mini direct action, like going after targets. Cause like I said, if you're on a COP, you're basically just going out and doing presence patrols, movement to contact, like during the day. And that's like your area of operation. So like you're basically staying around that area, winning the hearts and minds, what the government wanted to do, and doing your presence patrols around that area of operation. Anyway, so we got lucky enough to be deemed the FTF platoon, and it like took off from there, and we got kind of like got lucky enough to do like all the cool training. We like linked up with AWG, which is Asymmetric Warfare Group, did like a huge train up with them. They like showed us a bunch of stuff, because like the stuff that we were doing wasn't your average, like what your average platoon in the Army would do on deployment. It was not. So we started doing all that training stuff, shooting stuff with ladders, just a lot of like CQB shit.
What do you mean? What do you mean stuff with ladders?
So like in Afghanistan, like people living what's called a kalat.
Okay.
So a kalat is like a compound, and you can look it up for whoever's interested. But they actually, most of the houses have like these big mud walls around them. So the only way in before you breach, because they have big gates, and it opens up to like a corridor, and then like you go in
like a courtyard and
stuff. Like that's where the farm animals and shit would be.
Okay.
So you want to get eyes in to the compound before you're sending dudes in there. So we would carry ladders and like have these foldable ladders, and like before we would either breach the door or do a tactical call out, you would set up the ladder team, and then so the ladder team would have eyes on like in the courtyard of like what shitstorm or whatever we're going into.
Okay.
So anyway, so we got the okay to be that, and like I said, we did all that cool training and stuff like that, and it was like a lot of stuff to absorb, and it doesn't seem like a short amount of time, but it was, because everything was like, you got to get your outfitted for we got all new gear, we got multicam, we got everything, and it's like every single day you're doing something else to get ready for this life-changing year of your life, you know what I mean? So like I said, older guys were getting out, they didn't want to deploy again. And I think the eye-opener for us newer guys was, we were actually on it was a ruck. We did a ruck every Thursday, and there were some of the older guys there, and like it's just like anywhere else, like you go to these companies and stuff, and like the older guys kind of have that toxic like fuck this place, you know what I mean, kind of mentality.
Yeah.
So these guys were like buying their time to get out. They weren't going to deploy with us, and we were on a ruck, and everyone got pissed because they would always make me a casualty, and they would have to fucking carry me in the litter. So they'd be like, fuck you, fat ass, you fucking, and they're just like doing 10-mile fucking rucks with like carrying me halfway on the litter. So finally, like the platoon sergeant was like stopped, and everyone was like half-assing shit. And he's like, it was kind of an eye opener, because he was like, listen, I get it. Like some of you guys, like on the last deployment, like we didn't get a lot of shit. Like it wasn't really a bad area. Like it's still Afghanistan. It's still shitty. You're on deployment. Like, but we're not fucking going back to that place. That place is, he was like, his exact words were like, that place is Disneyland compared to where we're going. And nobody knew where we were going. And we're like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. So, fast forward more, we got all our gear and they have like a battalion brief and they like give us like the AO of like where we're going. This is where we're going. This is where we're going to fly into, blah, blah, blah. So I went, we got to go on leave, came back.
How long was leave?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. What'd you do?
Just kind of hung out with my friends, fucking got drunk.
You didn't go anywhere. You just stayed. Yeah. Okay. All right.
So I got drunk and, you know, just did whatever 20-some-year-old would do.
Yeah.
Went back and then we had a couple days, did a million layouts to make sure everyone had everything. We actually fucking, they were like, if you guys want to send anything over and like a Connex that we're preloading to send over beforehand, like just like grab a duffel bag. We don't care. It doesn't have to be on the packing list. So I like put my Xbox and shit in there. That fucking shit's in like Taiwan somewhere right now. That never fucking showed up.
Yeah, those guys that were packing, they were just like, they were just like packing. They were like, look at these suckers. They're bringing us all our good shit that we're gonna ship over there.
You're welcome wherever my Xbox 360 went. Fucking brand new. I was fucking pissed. So anyway, we were like, all right, it was the day to leave, and I called like my family and stuff like that, and I was like, all right, we're leaving this morning, and of course my mom got emotional and stuff like that, but
never gonna see you
again. And everyone was, don't be a fucking hero.
Okay,
whatever.
Thanks, Uncle Sal. I appreciate
that's what he said too. That was him. Don't be a fucking hero. So it was my Uncle Kev. I love him, but he anyway, so we got on buses, loaded the tarmac, and we actually flew. So you fly a regular airplane. Where do we fly? We flew actually to like Vermont, or it was Maine. And we flew to Maine and then got off the airplane for a little bit because Alaska to Maine is quite the flight. And then we flew, and then we got back on the plane, got like a couple hours to get off the plane, got back on the plane, flew from there. I want to say it was Ireland first, but it might have been Germany. I can't remember, because we flew from Ireland to Germany, or Germany to Ireland. Then we jumped on, no, we didn't. We stayed on the regular airplane. We flew into Kyrgyzstan, which is like old Soviet Union.
Satellite country.
And like when we got in there, it was like fucking, dude, it looked like the movie, like Borat. Fallout, the video game. Where are the people with gas masks walking around? So there's a base there, like one of our bases is military bases is there. It's like basically a transit base for people coming in and out of deployment. Go there for a week, and they're like, all right, we're flying out. So we flew from there. Then we got into C-17, and then we flew. I'll never forget it. We flew into Bagram, and I'll never forget like the pilot coming over and be like, attention, we're now entering Afghan airspace. And I like, because you can, on a military flight, you can like get up and look around. Like you can walk around, you can fucking put your sleeping bag on the ground. It's not like a regular flight where you're crammed in there like a sardine can. So I remember getting up and like looking out the window that we would jump out of normally and being like, just fucking the Hindu Kush Mountains, being like, what the fuck, dude? These fucking mountains are huge. And so we landed in Bagram, and I remember getting off the plane and like just looking all around, and it's just a bowl of mountains. Like, wow. So that's another place we had to transit from. So we stayed there for like a week in this shell. This tent shell was giant. It was a tent shell and it had bunk beds, so everyone like fucking bunked up together. And so, and then we ended up. So we actually flew out at night to go to Fob Salerno, where I was. It was in Coast Providence, right on the border of like Pakistan. We actually loaded up Chinooks. It was probably like midnight. we loaded up on Chinooks and flew into Salerno. And I remember getting off the plane, it was pitch black, and everyone was just like, couldn't really see much. And like, we walked over to our hooches where we were going to be living, and everyone was just like trying to pick out bedrooms. And like, just fucking go to bed. Like, shut the fuck up. Just pick a room. It doesn't have to be like your permanent room. Just go to bed. I remember everyone was starving, and I remember walking over to the chow hall that night and like trying to get my bearings about where everything was. And I remember just a pile of beef jerky and being like, wow, this is all free. And I just fucking took a bunch of it and stuffed it in my cargo pockets.
Yeah.
Took it back.
You thought that they were doing you a favor.
Yeah, they weren't. So when you get to the FOB or whatever, that platoon that you're replacing is there. So like what it's called is a left seat, right seat. So you like going on missions with that platoon to get like a grip of like what the AO's like, what the hot areas are, what they've been doing.
What's the AO?
Area of operation.
Yeah.
Okay. So like half the platoon would go because like they were just driving us around to show us like what's what, you know what I mean?
But there's also it's not just you, that your platoon you're not just replacing one platoon, like just so everybody knows.
Yeah,
like
we were
Salerno,
replacing. Yeah,
Salerno was, bigger. Right?
Yeah,
like
it was bigger. Yeah.
How big what was there? Like what was the operation like there?
It was. If anyone's familiar with Bagram's huge. It could be like
one's familiar with Bagram.
I mean,
maybe the people that
it's a huge bit. Like it's like a mini city.
Yeah.
And then Salerno was like smaller than that, but still like, I can't remember because there was an outside running track.
A few hundred people.
Yeah.
500 to 600 people.
There was a Ranger compound. I think there was a couple SF teams, maybe one SF team that was there for a little bit. And then a lot of your like supply guys were there. Your mechanics, if your fucking truck got blown up, you'd bring it there. But we were out of there. And luckily where our hooch was, so like you walk out of my door where I stayed, the gym was like directly to the right, which was a giant tent, and then the chow hall, there was a big gravel parking lot where the ANA is Afghan Army. They would park their little Rangers or whatever, and the chow hall was like directly across from there, so it was like the perfect sweet spot to like stay or whatever. So we ended up the next morning meet the platoon that we're replacing and stuff like that, and then they introduce us to the Afghan Army guys. And these guys are fucking clowns, dude. These guys are circus clowns. I mean, some of them like were squared away, but then like 90% of them were just like there for God knows what. Like, but
3 hots in a cot, maybe.
Yeah.
And just able to get fed, little paycheck.
And then we met our terp, which we fucking lucked out with our interpreter. His name was Mo. He's from California, so there's like different categories of terp. I'm pretty sure
terp is
interpreter.
Okay,
yeah.
Yep.
A Cat 1 terp is like a local national, like you're getting him from a town and the US government's paying him, or whoever DOD signing the checks. I don't know. We had a Cat 3 terp, so he was like a US born citizen whose family was from Afghanistan, and he spoke Pashto and Dari, which are the 2 languages of that area. And he was just a straight up G from California, LA, fucking straight up fucking like just you could tell he had a little gangster in him. It was like, all right, this fucking dude's legit. And so like, and
was he regular Army at that point, or he was
civilian? Yeah, he was hired through the Department of Defense, like making big money,
yeah,
like
to be a terp. Clarify that. Yeah.
So he gelled with us instantly, and yeah, so we did the left seat, right seat stuff. That platoon ended up leaving, and then it wasn't for a while where it was probably like 2 weeks before we got to do our first legit mission. It was Operation Pluto Free was the mission name.
What'd you do for that first 2 weeks before? I'm sorry, I'm trying to walk everybody
because you like so that like they're like turning over everything. They're turning over radios. They're turning over the 50 cals. They're turning over the Mark 19.
Just equipment check is essentially what
so
you're
like
doing.
that platoon had all that equipment. That equipment stays there. They don't take that equipment with them.
Understood. Yeah.
So you're doing like layout, all the stuff, making sure you have everything. Peltors, 50 cal, everything, like grenades, like you're because we were lucky enough, which everyone didn't have. We had a ready room, which is basically like a locker room for like a cool locker room full of, everyone had a locker. You kept all your shit in your locker, and then obviously you would carry your weapon around base, but you didn't have to like keep your kit and shit on you all the time, just your weapon. So the first mission we went on was Operation Pluto Free, and it was to catch some asshole. I don't know if he was like an IED facilitator or whatnot, but I can't remember the logistics of it. But we were going after this guy, and we flew in, and it was at night, and we flew in on Chinooks, and we literally, and when I mean literally, we literally landed in the front yard. And this fucking dude was bolting up the side of the mountain behind the house within 10 seconds. We had 2 Kiowas come in. He's flashing his light. He's like, he's calling our JTAC. He's like, hey, I got a guy moving up the hill, blah, blah, blah. So we ended up like cutting him off on the hill, bringing him back down the hill. It was the fucking dude. Like he had trying to run away. And they
what was he saying to you?
Who?
The guy.
He was talking to the Terp.
The Terp wasn't talking to you.
Why are you running? Why are you running? Yeah. Oh, her helicopter.
Couple of beers.
Nothing. I remember like it was the coolest looking collade I've seen on all deployment, which was actually my first one. It was built in the side of this like mountain, and like they had this huge like corridor, and I remember going like and they had like an upstairs to it too, and that's where like all, because they had like when you go in these clots, there's like multiple people in there. It's not just husband and wife. There was kids. There was his dad maybe, or his like mom.
Family dwelling. Yep.
I remember going in the bottom, and like they had like cows and shit down there, and I'm looking down, and there was like a viper, like a snake, like a fucking viper. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting the fuck out of here. But yeah, that was a cool mission, and they're like, hey. So we ended up zip tying the dude and bringing him back with us, and we put I want to say we put a bag over his head or something over his head. We blindfolded him. And zip tied him, and I grabbed him and I held him till the birds came back to pick us up. And like it was cold that night because it was like October, November, and we got on the birds, and I sat him like in front of me, and he was like trying to fucking snuggle up in between my fucking legs because he was cold.
Yeah.
I fucking hit him with my right. Get the fuck off me, fucking greasy little savage. So he was going like this because he was freezing. He was just in man jams, like barefoot. It pays to be an asshole. But so we brought him back, got him in processed with like the people that take the prisoners or whatever, and then you just kind of wipe your hands clean of that. That's how it usually went. But it was definitely a wild ride. It was like, I'm gonna hit on some stuff that people probably want, more exciting stuff that people want to hear.
So you did that for that was pretty much like modus operandi for like most 80% of your missions or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
We wouldn't always land in the front yard because obviously the element of surprise is it like wins. But so you technically, like, you would mostly land like a click or two away, depending on like the land layout, like where's the best place to land, because it's a lot of like, there's like a lot of farm fields and stuff they do over there. And it's mucky, and it's and they have these little paths on these farm fields that they walk on. And like, as lazy Americans, like, you don't want to walk through the mud and shit. So you're going to take their dirt paths. So they started putting IEDs and shit in those paths. So they're like, don't fucking walk on the path. So we were hammering out the missions. We would go out during the day after a dude, but like it was more the night pace was more our stuff. And we would drive sometimes, which it is what it is. Like, you're gonna have to drive some places, you know what I mean? We flew a lot, but there was a couple missions that I really won't ever forget. One was we had a company or a brigade hit us up, and this wasn't even in our AO. It wasn't even a army unit from Alaska, and they were like, hey, we need your guys' help. Like, we can't even come off base. Like, we can't even come off our cop because one, we'll get overrun, and two, we're literally getting mortared every single day. Like, every single fucking day they're getting hammered with mortars. It was Zerok. It was a place called Zerok, and I'm pretty sure at one point in time it was like right below the Korengal Valley. Everyone's familiar, if you know anything about Afghanistan, about the Korengal Valley. There's a movie about it on Netflix, but this was like right below, so it was like all fucking bad. It was really bad. So my squad leader, Sergeant Horton, I love him, dude. He's the one that he wrote that message. Can I tape a light on the bottom of my shotgun and come to the class? I love him, dude. He's fucking great. He was like the best squad leader to have. He was squared away. He like did some cool shit during the army, but like he comes in my room, and he's a little like on the sketched out side because of all the shit that he went through.
Yeah, he's gonna watch this.
Yeah, and I'm like he knows because we'd always joke. I'm like, you're gonna fucking put a barbed wire fence around your house when you get out. Yeah. And so I'm like playing a video game, and he's like, hey, I gotta tell you about the next mission we're going on. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I mean, so I'm like playing fucking Madden or whatever, and he's like, no, turn that off. And I'm like, all right. So I turn it off. He's like, we're going to Zerok. And I'm like, I don't even know where the fuck that place is. And whatever. Like we've done tons of missions now. He goes, no, you don't understand. We're going to fucking Zerok. Like, this place is bad news. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, if he's telling me that, like, this has got to be like shitty. So we get the briefing, and at that point I was the point man. So like I had a Garmin, and so I would plug all the Garmin plug all the coordinates into my Garmin, and like get from helicopter landing site to target, back to helicopter landing site. Of course, everyone would bitch like, slow the fuck down, blah blah blah. But so we do the mission briefing. This is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go clear this wadi, and see what types of weapons caches we can find, and like hopefully slow down like the shit that they're doing to this platoon on this cop. So we ended up, so they're like, we're going to emplace a sniper team on top of this hill, this ridge line first, and then we're going to bring you guys in. So the sniper team goes, they hike up this mountain, they get set up. I think they had like a Barrett, a SAS, a bunch of shit up there. So it was probably like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. We get infilled by Chinook. And like we got off
infilled by Chinook. So that means brought into the area.
Into the area by a Chinook helicopter. And we land, we get out, you do a 360 till the bird takes off. And we kind of just like took a knee for a little bit just to get our bearing. And I think the PL was talking a battalion or whatever. But like it was probably like 45 minutes later, I heard what sounded like a fucking bullhorn, but it was like an air raid siren that they were letting off in the village to let everyone know that like, hey, the Americans are here. So I called it up over the radio, and they're like, yeah, that's like an early warning, like we're here. So couple hours, we're walking towards the wadi, the sun's finally starting to peak up, call to prayer comes. We let the ANA guys do call to prayer because, you know, why wouldn't you do a fucking call to prayer in the middle of the worst place you can possibly go?
Yeah, pretty cool, guys.
Pull out your rugs, take your time, fucking whatever. Like, so we go to this old guy's. We go to this old guy's clot, and it was like on the right, and like we just wanted to like ask him a few questions, and it was before we got into the village. And this old guy comes out, and I remember him being like, he was talking to the Terp, and I could hear him talking to the PL, and he was like, no Taliban, no Taliban. You know how they all talk. And they're like, okay, well, do you have any kids? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I have a son. And he's like, where's your son at? And he's like, he's up there. And he like points up to this mountain, and he's like, what's he doing up there? He's like, oh no, he's just walking. So I thought that was like really strange. Like, what is it fucking just walk? What do you mean he's just walking? So we ended up leaving that guy's house, and then we stumbled upon this. It was like there was the mountain was right here where the sniper team was, and then there was a mountain right here, and there was like an opening. And then if you went around those two mountains, it was almost like a saddle. You went around those two mountains, the village started right there, but we were on the other side of the mountain. And it was weird because we like walked up and there was a bunch of people. I remember they were like piling sticks, just like piling sticks and like for no reason. Like, I don't know why they were piling sticks, but the fucking sticks were like as high as this roof. So we like went over and like started to like conversate with them. And like we have what's called a hide system, so you can like scan someone's retina and like see if they're in the database or whatever. So they started hiding all these dudes, and like we were carrying a wolfhound, so you can pick up any like ICOM chatter of like what's in the area.
That's what the wolfhound does.
Yeah,
it's just it monitors radio signals.
So that's that thing started like pinging off big time. Like
when you started talking to the stick people.
Well, we were getting closer to the town, so they were like talking. They were like, and Mo
talking to the stick people.
Mo had the wolfhound, and he's like, hey, he was like saying it out loud. Hey, they can see us right now, and they're planning on setting up an ambush. And I'm like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is gonna be a shitty situation. So we had an Air Force JTAC with us, and Mo just kept relaying like what they're saying, like they can see like multiple U.S. packs on the ground, blah blah blah. And the one guy was like, I'm pretty sure he was like commanding orders. You go here, you go there. This is how we're gonna open up with a machine gun or whatever, blah, RPGs. And so the JTAC's like,
and not to, I'm gonna stop you just for a second. What's a JTAC for people to understand?
It's like the Air Force guy that controls the bombs.
Okay, so he's the fire control. Yeah, he's the fire control guy, essentially. Okay.
So he's like, watch this. This will be funny. So there was an F-18 on station, like on our station. So he calls this F-18 in, and like it comes screaming through the waddy, and I mean low, dude. And you could hear all the fucking Hajis like, I call them because they're like, don't fucking shoot. Because they were gonna get blown to kingdom come by this fucking jet. And by the way, his call sign was dude, so that dude fucks, dude. Like, his call sign was dude.
Hey dude, come down here.
So he did. So
he was on essentially he was in the air already, like on.
He call. Was our state. He was on our RAO like that.
He was ready.
So
to
when
go.
you have like air assets on station, like when I say on station, they're like with us.
Yeah.
Like those are our guys
circling
for the
at,
next
20,000 feet until he needs to come down
till
and
he needs
do something.
Fuel or till somebody else gets in a tick.
Correct.
Which tick means troops in contact. So anyway, you could tell that there was like they were smart about it. They're like, hey, the Taliban dudes or Haqqani or whatever they were like, hey, there's rain coming in, and Mo was still just wait till the weather comes in, and then because the air asset will push off, it'll go away. So he's like fucking. So he's like, fucking, all right, you want to play that game? He's like, hey, he calls up to the jet guy and he's like, push off station to where they can't hear you. So the jet leaves and they open up with an ambush. It was like, they shot at us, RPGs, the sniper team, RPGs. And then he fucking calls like he went to go call the jet back in, but there was another, he had already like there was another, troops in contact near us.
Oh, okay.
So we pushed to them while we had pushed them off the station.
Oh, okay.
So we didn't have any air assets.
Okay.
So like they're going back and forth, fucking shooting or whatever. And like, and I remember I was next to my buddy Chai. He was our RTO. He's from Laos. His parents are from Laos, so he's like Asian. I fucking love him, dude. He's great. And like, I'm like, fucking Chai. And I'm like, dude, I'm like, they're going to start fucking shooting RPGs over here too. So we need to run to that rock over there. And then he's like, all right, I got you. So I'm like, on the count of 3, we're going to run to that rock. And I'm like, 1, 2, and I just hear, ka-thunk. And I'm like, fuck. And I just hear like the whistle. And I'm like, and he thought I said 3. So he was running over to that rock and they start fucking bracketing mortars in on us. So the mortar hits like 75 yards from him. He's like, "You fucking asshole! You almost killed me." So that's like the ongoing joke now. Every time I talk to him, he like, "Fucking, you remember you almost killed me when you told me to run over that rock?"
Yeah, you run into the fire.
And for anybody that doesn't know what bracketing in mortars is, like, you have a spotter, and then like a mortar tube guy's like feeding mortars into this tube. And when you're bracketing in, you're like, okay, raise it up 2 to go farther, or go left 3 till, and then fire for effect is like, you're fucked. Like they're on target and they're fucking hammering mortars. That was like, the mortars it was terrible. It was I would rather get shot at any day of the week than get fucking mortars rain down on us.
Why is that? Why?
Because you just never know. Like
you can hear them.
Yeah,
you can hear them whistling.
Like, is this the one?
Yeah.
Is this the one? Like, it's like
the suspense.
Yeah.
The suspense is what's killing you.
This ain't a fucking video game anymore. This is real shit. Like, and so we ended up, they ended up calling off, like, the dude they shot for a while, and they stopped firing. And Mo was like, they're talking about like, they're gonna reassemble and get more ammo and fill up their like RPGs and all that shit. So we call up the battalion because we were supposed to get picked up. Like, we were supposed to get picked up around dinner time, and like by this time it's like fucking mid-afternoon, and everyone's like, I want to go eat hamburgers at the fucking chow hall. I don't want to be here anymore. So they're like, fuck you guys, you're pushing into the village, and you're gonna clear everything. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so we so we push into the village, we start clearing. Of course, like the fucking the bullets and shit were coming from the backside of the village. Of course, you get in there like, what are you guys talking about? We didn't hear any fucking shooting. Like, you're like, are you kidding me? Yeah, everyone's playing dumb.
It's like you come into the living room with your kids, and they're like trying to saw the cat in half, and everybody's like, no, we didn't see it. Nothing's going on. Yeah.
So everyone like gave us the cold shoulder, and then the sun started going down, and they're like, because when they were shooting mortars, I didn't know this, but we were bracketing mortars on them too. Like that cop that we were, they were like calling in mortar strikes on them. So they're like, hey, we need you guys to go do a BDA on this house, which is a battle damage assessment. Anytime that you engage, you're supposed to go do a BDA to see like how many people you killed or what you did or whatever. So we like pushed at this time, the sun's down. We're pushing in deep into the town. And I like, again, I'll never forget this either. We pushed in and we went into this compound. And there was like 3 or 4 military age males. There was no females in the compound, which is like the biggest red flag. And we pulled them all out, and they're all in black, and they had those like black mascara around their eyes, and they like, these dudes usually like my persona, like scary fucking night vision. These dudes were looking through me, dude. Like these guys, there was hate in these dudes' eyes, but we couldn't find any fucking weapons. So like we couldn't just be like, hey, you're coming with us, you know what I mean? So they're like, they called a battalion. We got these dudes that like, they have like, we know they're bad, like you can't do anything about it. So they're like, all right, just we're gonna send the Chinooks in like 45 minutes to come pick you up. Have the JTAC find somewhere the helicopters can land to pick you guys up. The sniper team's gonna get picked up first, and you guys are gonna get picked up second because they infilled first. So the Chinooks come in. We had 2 Apaches on station too by this time. The Chinooks come in, pick up the sniper team, and we were like in the middle. And I got like an eerie feeling because we were in like, there was a big farm field in the middle, and we were surrounded by like calots and stuff, but it was a giant field. And I got like a weird feeling because it was in my head, I was like, this is a shitty spot. So they get picked up, no problem. And I'm like, oh, maybe it'll be fine. We got 2 Apaches on station. They're flying around above us. And probably the turnaround time was like 15 minutes for our birds to come in. So we all kind of like took a knee, faced out. Our bird came in, and then everything just erupted. Our bird, right before it was about to land, 2 feet off the ground, maybe it did land, like we just saw fucking tracers coming everywhere. It was, I'm pretty sure it was between 3 to 4 belt feds that were getting shot like, I don't know if they're trying to engage us. I'm assuming it was the helicopter because I heard like ting ting ting, like I heard it being hit. And I never seen, and I like got down, and there was like part of my platoon was like in front of me, and that's where the gunfire was coming from, was like the hillside. And so I got down, I had like a medium rucksack, I threw it in front of me and like got down in the prone position, and I heard the helicopter. I turned around and looked at the helicopter under nods, and that fucking guy took off so fast, dude. Like, and I'm like, no, he's gonna leave us here.
like your mom in the grocery store.
And like we had 2 fucking Apaches like in the air, and these guys still. But they seen the Apaches. They were pushed way on the other side of the village. They were just doing like 360 degrees to see if they could see any like heat signatures or whatever they see up there. And so our JTAC was next to me. He's like, break. So when you say break on the radio, everyone needs to shut the fuck up. He's like, hey, break. We're taking contact from the south side of the village, blah, blah, blah. So the Apache circled around. As soon as they saw them coming towards them, they stopped shooting. So he got a hold of the Chinook pilot, and he had pushed off to where you couldn't even see the Chinook anymore. So everyone's like, great, we're fucking stuck.
We're walking back.
Yeah, we're walking back. Yeah. And like the Chinook pilot finally was like, hey, I'm fucking coming back one more time to get you guys. And if that happens again, like, sorry, like we can't afford to have a bird shot down.
Yeah.
And so we're like, all right. And I've never fucking ran into the back of a fucking helicopter that fast. People were diving in. The fucking crew chief's like, get the fuck on. Like, dude, you got a fucking 240. Like, why weren't you shooting back? Like, but they were just like fucking screaming at us. Like we could have left somebody. They wouldn't give a fuck, dude. So we ended up going out of there. That was like one of the funnier missions. We were supposed to go back, and thank God we didn't, because I think that I don't know. I just had a weird feeling that we were going to take like a casualty or somebody get killed, because it just wasn't. It wasn't a good area. It was bad. It was like a hornet's nest. But my next story, I'll try to make them quick. But my next story is so we had been going after this one dude. It was 2 or 3 times, and he was bad. He was real bad. I think he was like a sub commander of like a little militant group of the area. So it was a dry hole the first 2 or 3 times we went there after this dude. And
what's that dry hole mean? Just
nobody's there.
Yeah,
he's not there.
It was just misdirection.
So it was like probably 1 o'clock in the morning. We weren't supposed to go out that night. And then, I mean, this happened a lot, but the dude burst through our door of our deployment barracks, and we're like, hey, get the fuck up. Like, so everyone was like, of course, everyone's in a bad mood. Fuck you. Like, we're not supposed to go out. We're supposed to get a good night's sleep. He's like, no, everyone get to the CP, which is the command post, to get briefed on what we're going to go do. So he's like, hurry the fuck up. This is like time sensitive. So I get my stuff, I get my uniform on or whatever. And I walk down to sprint down to the CP, and the PL's already there. And he's like, hey, we got a beat on this guy. He's there right now. And anyway, I don't know how to say this without. So what they would do, which I'm sure they're still doing, but we would track them anytime that they would turn their cell phones on. If it was in the system of like whatever system they were using, it would ping their cell phone, so you would know like where they're at.
Yeah.
Asshole turned his cell phone on, and he was in that village at 1:30 in the morning, 2 o'clock, whenever he got woke up. So the PL sat me down. He's like, hey, this is the grid coordinates. This is where we're landing. We're landing like a half a click out. And the platoon was all getting ready at this time. He's like, put these grid coordinates into your Garmin. This is where we're landing. This is where we got to insert at, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, pulled me aside. He's like, I don't fucking care who complains over the radio. As soon as we land, we got to fucking move, like move fast. And he's like, I'll take care of the people that are bitching over the radio. I just want to get there and get this guy, because this is kind of like extremely time sensitive. We're trying to get this dude for weeks now. So we hurry up, run back, get my shit all on, get our stuff ready, everyone's got their night vision shit on. We load up the birds. I remember landing and then just taking off for this little, it was like shaped in a diamond, this little village. It was like up on this little hill. It wasn't a mountain, it was a little hill. And there was probably 20 to 30, no, I'd say 20 calots there. It wasn't very big area. And so I started booking it and walking fast. And I walked by this truck, and it had a trailer attached to it. And I walked by, and all of a sudden this dude like pops out of this trailer, like from me to you away. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I put my laser in his face, and it was an old guy. And I'm like, hey, I got an old dude in this trailer. He must have been sleeping in the fucking trailer. And he's like, just push past him. So I pushed past him, and the dude like ended up laying back down. Of course, he has a fucking gun in his face, but so I pushed past, and where we had to go, there was only one way to get in this village effectively, because it was all like shale rock. And they had built this trench up to this village. And it looked, if anyone watches like the Ukraine-Russian war, it's like one of those trenches. It was probably like 5 foot high, maybe 5 to 6 foot high, and it like came in, and it was going. It gradually elevated up to this little hill where this village sat. So I get to the edge of where this trench is. And the PL's like, all right, just push in to where it dog legs to the right. And I'm like, all right, and then just stay right there. So I push in, and behind me was my squad leader, Horton. And he kind of like comes, I get to the corner where it dog legs to the left. And he kind of like comes up to me. He's like, hey, what do you want to do? I said, what do you want to do? He's like, I think we should push the gun team up to get eyes on, to have a crew serve weapon just in case we have any squirters or anything happens. So I'm like, all right. So he calls up the one of the gun teams, and they come up, and I mean, the trench is probably only like 5 to 6 foot wide too. So they were like right there. So 3 dudes walked in front of us, and we were probably from me to you away, within spacing distance, to try to get up in that village as fast as we could. As soon as I turned the corner, the dog leg, I just saw what looked to be like lightsabers. And it would look like lightsabers coming at us. And I'm like, what the fuck? And I heard crack, 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 crack. It was probably like 15 to 20 rounds. And then I heard kaboom. And like, we were like, this is close, dude. This is like 20 feet, 25 feet away. And I looked up, and there was like dust and shit. And I looked up, and I had seen like a shadow of somebody like run. And then I just heard over the radio, I'm hit. And he was probably like 5 feet in front of me. Sergeant Heck, he was like the squad leader of weapon squad. And what I had thought, my initial thought was like, because when the boom went off, I'm like, fuck, I started checking my legs. I'm like, he just shot an RPG at us, like from point blank. So like, somebody's got to be dead. But what he did was he shot, I couldn't tell whether it was 1 or 2 guys, because everything happened so fast. But he shot, like, he sprayed an AK down in the trench, and then he threw a pineapple grenade and down in the trench. How he didn't hit anybody with those AK fire is like beyond me. Which like, I had just talked to my squad leader a couple weeks ago, and he's like, we should be dead. I'm like, I didn't realize like how close it was. And then I heard, I'm hit. And so one of us called up to the medic, and he came rushing up. And what happened was, the grenade must have malfunctioned. And like, instead of, like blowing the fragments everywhere, it like blew the fuse out the top.
Okay.
And the fuse must have tumbled, and the fuse actually stuck in the side of his leg. So the fuse was like hanging, like it like went to the bone. The fuse was like hanging out the side of his leg. And I walked by, and I'm like, oh fuck, that looks like it hurts. Of course, he was like good, like he was in pain, but like he wasn't bleeding out or anything. Like, he tourniqueted his leg. So they ended up calling a 9-line medevac, which is like when you bring the birds in for somebody who got hurt. And they're like, they call up the battalion. Hey, we just took contact. We took a fucking grenade. Like somebody's coming back, blah, blah, blah. So they're like, just start clearing everything. Fucking clear everything. So I'm like going up in, and there immediately you get up to like where the village starts, and there was a house right there. So I'm like, and everyone's kind of like in awe and still like in shell shock because of what just happened. And I like was like, all right, we're gonna go clear this first building to the left. And I like turn around, and it's just me and Mo, the Terp. And he's like got a fucking pistol, and he's like, I got you. And I'm like, all right, let's fucking go. So we're like fucking clearing, and I'm like, all right, Mo, let's go. So I'm like clearing this fucking shit, and finally I link up with the rest of, because I was a team leader, I linked up with the rest of my team guys, and we started just clearing house to house, clot. And there were some squirters on the backside that, if I remember correctly, the fucking helicopter pilot was shooting his M4 out the window to get him to like stop running.
What do you mean squirters?
Like when somebody squirts out, like if the cops were raiding this building and I started running out the back, I'm considered a squirter.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, and that was on the other side of the village, so we couldn't get there right away because we were trying to look for this dude. Had to be somewhere like close. He just like a fucking Houdini'd us, like. So I'm going through these, waking all these people up. Fucking everyone's pissed off. This dude just got hit by the fucking grenade. We're waking everyone up. Fucking kids are screaming, crying. I'm fucking cutting open food bags, looking for fucking weapons, like flipping mattresses. Like it's 3:00 in the morning. Like these people, like I'm dragging every military age male out to the fucking, like, because there was like a little dirt, like a open dirt yard where we brought all the military age males to the front so they could get like questioned and hided. And and everyone's pissed off, and like the women are fucking screaming and crying and fucking whatever. And so we ended up clearing the whole fucking village, and he had to have been in where the dudes that we were hiding, or he just the guy like evaporated into thin air. Like I don't know if it was his, like, I don't know if it was him, I don't know if it was his like fucking security like team or whatever, some other asshole that was working for him. But I remember like these two Afghan dudes, they were like, they all sit the same, they like squat, and like I said, everyone was pissed off, and they were squatting there, and the one guy kept whispering to the other dude, and I don't know Pashto, but I kept looking at him, and I'm like, chupsha, which means shut up. And Sergeant Glock, who is like, I'd fucking go into the gates of hell with that guy. That guy's a fucking lunatic, dude. And he's like, McLaughlin, get him to shut the fuck up. So I fucking, like, he was a skinny, scrawny little Haji, and I fucking grabbed that dude by the beard and like shoved him in my face and picked him up and was like, shut the fuck up. And he was like fucking petrified, dude. He was petrified. So yeah, that mission was like one of those, and again, like we never found that dude, but like I just was like in awe at how they can just disappear, and like, I don't know, dude. It was like they shoot and then they're like fucking ghosts. Yeah. I mean, they've been doing it for so long, so like I do understand, but I question to this day if that dude in the back of the truck called and like let somebody know, because that village was only, I don't know, 400 yards from that truck. I'm wondering if that dude was like their lookout for that night and like called him like, hey, they're almost there. But
yeah, most people don't understand that contact like that, like in combat, is like very, very rare. Like you've done like lots of missions at that point, right?
Yeah.
And to actually have contact with people in modern warfare like that, and we're not talking about like the Ukraine war, which is like devolved basically because there's nothing else to like fight around. It's just rubble that they're fighting around in trenches. But yeah, like that kind of stuff is like super ultra rare to,
like that dude, like he could have spit on us. Like like I said, I do not know. I don't know if there was like guardian angels around us but like he shot multiple times. Like I do not know how he didn't hit any of us. Yeah. I don't. And but he did get somebody with a grenade. Like even though it malfunctioned, thank God it didn't legitimately go off. Yeah. But heck, he like took it like a man, and like he was out for a couple weeks. They ended up pulling that out and like stuffing his leg with like sure antibiotic stuff, and like he was out for a while, but he ended up coming back. Got a Purple Heart and all that stuff. But yeah, so that was that crazy. And my last one was probably like the life-changing experience. So we had been getting intel for what seemed like months, but it was probably weeks. I can't timelines now. I'm getting older. It's like everything mushes together, but
no, that's kind of why we're doing this. So it's kind of cemented. You know what I mean?
So we've been getting intel. They're like, hey, they're planning an attack here. And what people don't understand, and I'm going to back up for a second, there is a fighting season. So like there is a fighting season over there, and it's when the nice weather happens. And because nobody wants to fucking fight in the cold.
Right.
Yeah. And it does get cold over there, and it snows and shit like that. But so they're like, yeah, we have intel that they're planning a massive attack on our base. So we have been getting told this, and they're like, they have a VBID, which for anybody who doesn't know is a vehicle-borne IED, which is basically a fucking car bomb. And we actually went out after this VBID because we got intel of where it was multiple times. We went, and they were all dry holes. And so eventually you're like, they ain't fucking coming. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, just give us the next mission. So it was June, the 1st of June, and it was like around lunchtime, and it was lunchtime. It was 1 o'clock their time, 1 p.m. And I was at the CP getting the mission brief and fucking with my Garmin and doing everything, plugging all my shit in and getting like, because we would carry like you ever seen those quarterback wristbands?
Yeah.
If we had the picture of the dude, we'd have that in there.
Okay.
Like, what do you look like? And so we were getting all that shit and getting briefed. I remember the dog handler was in there. The JTAC was in there. I was in there. The medic was in there. Our platoon sergeant was in there. And I think our PL was in there. And all of a sudden, like, I was like sitting there, and then boom, like, the biggest fucking boom that I have ever witnessed, and probably ever will witness. And like, it was one of those booms where like, you didn't realize there was dust on the floor till there was dust, like fucking just like mist of dust, just like coming back down. And I remember the dog started going nuts, and the TV had like, because we had like a TV, we would put up like the target building and shit, and it like fell off the wall. And I remember going outside. Well, my first thought was, because anytime we would take indirect on base, they had a I think it was called a boomerang system, and it'd be like, it would sound off an alarm and be like incoming.
Yeah.
So you could get, and then after a while, like if you've been in the military, you know what I'm talking about. It's like, yeah, I'm playing fucking Madden. I ain't going nowhere. They ain't fucking hitting me. So I'm like, my first thought was like, one, did a mortar hit the building? And two, why didn't the alarms go off? And like, me and the medic had walked outside, right outside the CP, which was probably like 150, 200 yards away from, probably 200 yards away from the ready room. The ready room was like right next to where I slept. And me and the medic walked outside the CP, and there was this female soldier on the ground. She just kept complaining. She's like, my arm. So luckily there was a bunker next there, and we like drug her to this bunker. I don't know what was wrong with her. She wasn't injured. Her arm, like, I don't know if she fell wrong from the explosion. So we drug her into this like bunker thing, and my platoon sergeant had come out, and he's like, I remember it in slow motion. He's like, get to the fucking ready room. And then I just started hearing ta 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 ta, and then thinking like, oh shit. It was like everything was in like slow motion, and I had yet to look up to see, because there was like a mushroom cloud of like dust and from the explosion. So I'm like fucking sprinting, and of course like your adrenaline's going so much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, are you in like tunnel vision?
I'm in adrenaline mode now. Yeah, like
tunnel vision,
because I have no idea what's going on. I know something bad's going on.
Yeah, your sensory.
Yeah, I could have fucking ran like 100 miles. Like it was like, so I get to the ready room, and like there's already like civilians starting to pile in our ready room, and I'm like, half our platoon wasn't in the CP. They were just chilling in their hooches at the time, and that was way closer to the explosion than. And I could see that the ready room door was blown in, and the door was open, so I go in the ready room, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And nobody knows where everyone is accounted for. So I get in there, and Sergeant Glock and I think it was my buddy Matt, and I remember putting on my kit, and like I could hear the gunfire, and I remember Glock being like, they're in the wire, and the first thing I thought of was, this is like, I'm 23, 23 or 24 years old, and I'm like, this is it, like this is where I'm gonna this is where I'm like, this is where I'm gonna die, like like I don't know, I just kind of was like, had like a moment of like, okay, this is why you're here, and I guess this is, if you die, you die, like this is it, like. And then I kind of like snapped out of it, put my shit on, and I remember Glock going over, because we had like a different cubby for grenades, and now it's funny, but he like grabbed like he grabbed like 4 fucking grenades, and he comes over to me, and Glock loves me and I love Glock, and he goes, put these in your cargo pocket, you're gonna need them. And I go, and I was like, all right. So I have.
Was that pretty sobering? Was this all pretty sobering? Like, was it all slowing down when you were in that
like
ready?
Slowing down, like I'm gonna fucking go die.
Yeah.
And so I have this, like, which is funny now, I have this bulging cargo pocket full of live fucking grenades.
Yeah, just clinking around.
Yeah. And my pants are like fucking falling down, because it's like 20 pounds of fucking explosives in my pants. I don't know why he gave me so much, if he thought I was just gonna start launching them across the fucking, like,
there we were, ass deep and hand grenade pins.
I get out of the, he's like, all right, you ready? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And like I said, that guy, I went through Iraq, he went through Afghanistan, they went to a bad place in Iraq. So I'm like, let's go. And it was directly across, like 75 yards was the chow hall. And the breach point of where the V-bid came in was right behind the chow hall. And we had these things called HESCO barriers. And they're like giant fucking like square cardboard meshing kind of looking things, but they're filled with sand.
Okay.
So what happened was they had drove this jingle truck, which is like I'd say like the equivalent to like a garbage truck, filled full of HME, which is like the explosives they use. And there was tower guard, but I'm pretty sure what he did was he like zigzagged to make it look like he wasn't coming beelining for the wall, and at the last second he beelined for the wall and then clacked himself off. And it was devastating, like it was fucking huge, dude. Like it threw the HESCO barriers like it was a fucking child. And like the back of the chow hall's roof caved in, and there was a bunch of like damage. There was a damage to a C-130 that was parked over there. But anyway, so I'm coming out of the ready room, and everything's like tunnel vision, and I see Glock. He has the M14, and I have my AR at the time. And my buddy Matt was behind me, and we're running, and my first thought, like running over there, is like, well, 2 thoughts is like, how many are there? And how far are they pushed in? Because that was like a worry of mine. If they're pushed in farther than we're going, we're fucked.
Yeah, getting behind you.
Yeah, you're fucked. So we started to like, there next to the chow hall, there was like a row of Connex like Connex boxes. So we started kind of like using that to maneuver like forward as cover. And I remember vividly Glock pulling up his M14, and I was like from me to Peter away from Glock. He was on the other side of the Connex, and he pulled up. I just remember looking at, like, I saw it, like I saw him put his hand on the trigger, his finger on the trigger, and as soon as he pulled that fucking trigger, boom, this dude fucking blows up. Like, fucking, this dude's fucking leg landed in front of me. Like, he's fucking like just missed.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking down, like, because I kind of got blown back a little. Like, I kind of, like, it was like shell shock, because I was like, holy fuck, they're wearing vests too. Because you're trying to like process all this shit and like not
in real time.
In real time. So I remember it was either Boisvert or a different dude from like somebody else was like, hey, look below you. And I swear to God, on my kids' lives, I looked down and there was a fucking like there was like a pineapple grenade at my feet. I knew that wasn't my grenade. Our grenades don't look like that.
Yeah,
it was what it was. He had a grenade
like
on him.
Soviet.
Yeah,
style,
he had a grenade on him, and it blew off of him and landed by me. Luckily, the pin was still in it, so I kind of just like kicked it off to the side, and moved to the other side of where that grenade was. And I remember looking over, and there was a dude we were engaging behind a. He actually had a good spot. He was in you've seen the video.
Mm-hmm.
He was in that, like, what would you call it? A culvert pipe?
Yeah.
He was in like the culvert pipe.
Storm drain.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he had it was either a PKM or RPK. And he was like one of the last ones to die. So like the focus was on him. And I'm gonna like go back and forth in this story before I end. But I remember looking over, and I remember seeing on the other side of the Connex, probably like 50 yards away, it was a guy named Jolly in my platoon, and he was on the back of a Toyota truck, like an A&A truck, but it wasn't an A&A, it was an all white Toyota truck. And my first reaction was, okay, somebody in my platoon's dead or fucked up, but I first saw dead. So I'm like, all right, fuck. And so again, still going through my mind, like, how far are they behind us? Are they behind us? How many there are? And trying to, like, again, assess the situation. And it's just fucking chaos, dude. Like, there's people, Americans, like, running everywhere. You know, people were still trying to come out of the chow hall that don't have weapons. There were civilian contractors, and they're fucking screaming. Like, it was just complete fucking chaos. And the first person over there, while I was still in the CP, was it was Hedge, Harris, my buddy Harris, and Hinojosa, which, you know, I'm talking into the mic. I know you bitched at me online for talking into the mic.
He's doing good. You're doing good this
Hino, I call him Hino, but Hino was a saw gunner, and Hedge was a saw gunner, and Harris was a M4 gunner. Harris, the first guy, if anybody wants to watch the video, it's on YouTube.
We can probably make that another episode of you going through that video. Yeah.
The first guy comes around the corner. He looks like this. He's trying to get his bearings. Harris, like, I'm pretty sure he dumped like 8 or 9 bullets into that guy before he even thought about going down, which I'm sure they were high on fucking whatever, opiates or whatever they were high on. And there was a dude that nobody seen cross the fucking because around our base was a track, and it was a track, and then there was a line of Humvees, and Hedge was on the other side of the Humvee, and there was a dude that crossed and like went underneath the Humvee and must have saw Hedge, and Hedge didn't know the guy had crossed, and he did the right thing. He fucking put his saw on top of the Humvee where the engine was, and he was behind like the engine block and the fucking tire, like probably where you're gonna get the most fucking cover in that situation. And didn't know that there was a guy underneath a Humvee next to him, and unfortunately took like multiple rounds to the right leg and then a couple rounds to the left leg, and it kind of like sawed his fucking legs to where like bones and shit were sticking out. And I'm pretty sure that Hino and somebody else had drug him back. And at this time, he was bleeding out pretty bad. He was going into shock. And I remember he kept, or I wasn't over there, I was on the other side, but I know he was screaming. Edge was a character. He was a guitarist. He was a funny dude. Everything was fucking a joke. And after getting shot, he was screaming, "Charlie Murphy, my legs, Charlie Murphy."
Charlie Murphy.
Yeah. But he was in severe pain, so they threw him on the back. They put some tourniquets on him, and luckily this I'm pretty sure it was an 18 Delta, which is a Special Forces medic. He was the one in the white truck. He had come around, and whoever was working on Hedge, this guy comes up and he goes, "Hey, do you care if I take a look at him? I'm an 18 Delta." And they're like, "Yeah, you do your thing." So they did whatever they needed to do to get him to the aid station, and they threw him on the back of the truck. And when they threw him on the back of the truck, his bones were snapped. So like it was just holding on by skin, and his fucking leg, you know, when you put a tailgate down and there's that wire that's connecting it. Well, his leg got caught in between that wire. And he was like fucking screaming, dude, like screaming. You could actually follow his blood trail from where he got shot all the way to the fucking medical station. Dude, that shot Hedge, it was over near us, and we didn't see that guy because I think it was me and Glock and somebody else. We didn't see that dude till like the end of it, kind of. And I don't know if it was the end of it because I don't know, because the dudes were like sporadically like alongside of the wall, and they were blowing up fucking everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an extremely dynamic situation where like there's people in and out of the like. I mean, it's like it's not like orderly like D-Day invasion where people are like coming across the beach and there's a field of fire and stuff like that. It's just. I mean, you look at you look at the chaos of the video and you like understand pretty quickly.
And like, I remember going up to that dude, and my first thought was, where the fuck did this guy get basketball sneakers? He had pony, like 1980 pony Laker color basketball sneakers on. And they were all wearing our uniforms, our ACU uniforms, not our multicam uniforms, our ACU uniforms. And they were all like, I mean, of course they didn't have patches and shit on, but some guys were wearing like fucking parkas and they whatever. They were still our digi like ACU uniforms. So that dude was like on his last deathbed. You could tell he'd been shot through like the hip area, and he was like laying there. He like was dying, looked up at us, and shot him. And at first it was like, yeah, don't shoot this guy in the chest because you're gonna die, because he had a suicide vest on. So we like shot him in the head, and we like kind of like, I don't remember how it stopped, but the gunfire had slowed down. And at that point, like, you got to worry about, okay, now we have to start clearing everything.
So like that, like, just if we can just pause for a second. So like that is like, that's again super rare to like take somebody's life in a combat situation. And so,
or even to see it, or even
to be. So, like, what was your thoughts like after you pulled the trigger? You were just like, well, I mean, it's a lot less sensational than what you'd see like on the movie, like Zero Dark 30 or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's really, really dynamic. There's a lot of chaos and dynamic. Did that moment for you like slow down, or was it just something that you did and then you just kept moving on because you knew that there was another
Well,
there's more potential threats at that point.
We were engaging the guy behind the culvert too. So it's like at that point in time, you're like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
So you were just moving targets. Yeah, you took care of that guy, and then you just
I don't know who got that guy, but we were shooting at that guy for a little bit. Like
the guy in the culvert.
Yeah, in the culvert pipe.
No, I was talking about the guy with the pony V.
Oh yeah.
So you eliminated him and then just continued to move on through that target.
No, that was the last guy.
Oh, it was the last.
The pony guy was the last guy,
and
you just kind of like after like I said, when Glock shot and that guy blew up, it was like, okay, fuck these people. Like you know what I mean? Like the I don't know. It was kind of like they say, like even like medical people. You like get in that situation and your body's just like it just does it itself. You know what I mean? Like the fight or flight shit. That's probably like a legit thing because like, and then I remember coming back to the ready room where we like all because we didn't, like I said, our whole platoon was fucking scattered everywhere.
Sure,
so it wasn't. Right. And I remember getting back to the ready room. We were trying to get a count on everybody because we were going to start clearing everything. And we started clearing everything. And I remember clearing this one guy's room, and he comes out. He was a contractor. He was an old guy, and he's got his glasses on. He comes and answers the door with a book in his hands. And I go, that's weird. You're reading? And he goes, yeah, I figured you guys would take care of it. I wasn't worried. And I'm like, all right. So we ended up clearing more. And here comes like the humor. And like, maybe some people won't find this funny, but it is fucking funny because you're in that situation and like everything dark is funny. So, cause you make these stressful situations, you don't want to like, you know what I mean? You're turning this horrible situation into humor. That's the only way you can deal with it. Yeah, that's how the human body is.
Sure,
like, so I was clearing along, and my buddy Matt and somebody else was there, and luckily I had stumbled upon somebody's hand, and it was a blown off hand from one of the guys. And me being a jackass, I had picked the hand up and waited for my buddy Matt to come around the corner. And I can't remember if I think I threw it at his face or I smacked him in the face with it. And I was just like, hey, you need a hand? And I remember it perfectly because it still had like his Haji rings all over the fingers. It was just like completely blown off from here back. And you fucking asshole. Blah, blah, blah. And so we cleared more. It took like an hour and a half, 2 hours to clear everything. And I found somebody's fucking jawbone, like their bottom jawbone with their teeth still in their mouth in front of we had this like little Haji coffee shop, and I'm like, oh shit, there's a fucking jawbone. and the leg, and it was just like, but when you see that shit, it almost looks fake.
Yeah.
Like it's like your brain's like registering like,
yeah, we kind of been desensitized with all the movies and things like that.
Whoa, that's fucking real.
There's a stick. You want to poke it? Yeah.
And like, so some of the dudes' vests didn't blow up, and EOD had to come over, and they like controlled det, like blew these dudes, the rest of the bodies that didn't blow up.
Did you know, like, just to interrupt, did you know if the guy that you eliminated did you stick around to see if that he had a vest on? Like if you'd have shot him in center mass instead of, in the T box, like did you hang around to see if he did, like when EOD showed up?
No,
you weren't even thinking about
it. Because at that time we were like clearing, because I remember clearing, and like they started doing the controlled det, which they did call it over the radio, but everyone was like still in fucking like, what the fuck was that? Because there was supposed to be a secondary attack in the front of the gate, and the dude our helicopter pilots, shout out to them, like I don't know who you are, but you guys were fucking great that day. They sleep all day and they get up at night and do a lot of their shit. But I remember looking up and seeing the one guy who's in fucking pajamas and flying around a Kiowa in pajamas and like giving us like live feedback. Hey, there's a dude here. There's a guy here. And I remember hearing over the radio that there's a secondary IED, or there's a secondary attack coming to the front gate. They're on motorcycles,
Mm.
and they must have saw those fucking helicopters and been like, yeah, fuck this, and like turned around. Yeah,
huh.
turned around, and and after we had cleared, everyone was kind of just, because you always have like cliques of people wherever you go in school, in life. Some people just gel to each other, and and we did have that in the platoon. But like I said, we were all family, and but of course you'd have like the cliques that made fun of this clique, and everyone razzed each other. That was the one time where like everyone just sat like together and kind of just like, we didn't go in our rooms. We sat out on the rocks, and people were like smoking cigarettes that don't normally smoke. People were dipping that don't normally dip. Everyone was just trying to like take in what everything just happened. And like, it was, I don't want to say it was like a cool moment, but it was definitely like we needed to be together because of like, dude, these people were like right in front of us. Right, like this isn't normal. Like usually you get shot at from a couple 100 meters away. These motherfuckers are like Call of Duty Warzone shit. Like, and everyone was kind of just like, and then like everyone, and of course everyone was worried about Hedge, because like, is he gonna survive? Like, did he get hit in the femoral? Like, is he bleeding out? And so they ended up flying him out to Germany like ASAP, because I think he was losing a lot of blood, and he made it. His legs are fucking mangled to this day. I'm pretty sure if I know Hedge, he was like, please don't amputate my shit, because I'm pretty sure that was on the table to like amputate. I know for a fact that the right leg was, because the right leg was the one that got like the most. And he like I know he can walk now, but it's not good. It's not well. And he got a Purple Heart. And the thing that bugs me about that is like, I know probably my platoon sergeant will never see this video, but I'm not going to say his name, but like, he never, like, it bothered me to this day. And I don't know why it should, but like, I don't know if the other dudes in my platoon think of this, but that guy never reached out to Hedge. He never like, no, like he never like as a platoon sergeant, you're supposed to be like a dad of your guys, right? Sure. So like, he never like, even, you could just fucking message him on Facebook, you know what I mean? But like, it is what it is. But like Hedge, he's living, he went to school, he ended up going to a music school, and he's living a good life from what it could have been. But yeah, it was definitely like a life-changing experience. Oh, and one thing I do want to, because Hino is a fucking stud, and Hino was one of the first guys over there with the saw, and I remember after we got done clearing, everyone kind of came back to the ready room after we got the all clear, and Hino's locker was close to mine, and I remember like taking my shit off, and I looked down, and I'm like, you got Hedge's blood on you? And he's like, no. And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And I'm like, well, you got blood all over your leg. And he's like, oh shit, I do. And I'm like, yeah, there's also a fucking hole in like your fucking pants. And he's like, oh fuck. And so I'm like, dude, drop your pants. Like, no homo, drop your pants. Yeah. Like, and so he dropped his pants, and I'm like, you could tell like something was in his leg. I'm like, bro, you fucking took a round. Like, and it was like, luckily for him, it was like right in the meat of the thigh, like right on the side. And I think what happened was, and what happened was either it was a ricochet of a bullet, or a bullet had hit something like metal and split, and like half of it went into
the jacket came off. Yeah.
Am I still on?
Yeah, we're all still on.
All right. Yeah. So we got back, and he ended up getting hit, and he ended up going to the cache and getting some like x-rays and shit done. I'm pretty sure they tried to like get out the sliver or whatever, but they didn't.
The jacket.
Yeah. And he still has that round inside him. Luckily he got a Purple Heart, and he was all good. He like they just wrapped it up and shit and like gave him some antibiotics or whatever. But yeah, it was dude, that was fucking crazy.
Yeah. So obviously it's like everything settled down, and then that night you had like time to.
The worst was our chow hall was fucked. Like it was gone. Like there was no chow hall. Yeah. So like everyone was fucking pissed off because we ain't got no fucking chow hall. And then it was like the fucking beginning of summer, so they set up this tent and they didn't have any air conditioning in the tent. So you're sweating like a dog inside this tent trying to eat your chow. And like there was, and then so luckily the only thing that good happened to that they opened a burger shack right in front of our hooches, and like so that was like the one good thing that like that came out of that.
So like later that night, just you get to kind of like lay down, like rest, right?
Yeah, doors were fucking fucked up. Like some of the walls were fucked up in our rooms. Like there was like random people when we got back to our rooms just hiding in our rooms. Like I don't know who the fuck they were. They were contractors just hiding in our rooms.
Yeah. Did you have any time to reflect on that night? Is there anything like, I mean, you know, first time
we did an AAR, an after action review.
Yeah.
And we kind of just like hung out with each other.
Well, I get the camaraderie thing. I guess what I'm digging into is just more yourself personally. Like when you laid your head on the pillow that night, like, did you have any thoughts? Like this is like the first time you had, you know, a major conflict, you took life, you know, all those things happened like all in one day. You know, what was the thought? Where you just like, you went from, I'm going to die, you execute your training, you know, made contact with the enemy in a personal way.
Yeah.
And had like all these experiences within probably 30-45 minutes.
Yeah. Hour.
Maybe an hour. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. It was hard, like timeline. Yeah.
You lived like, you know, a whole lifetime in an hour.
I fucking aged like 30 years in an hour.
So like when you laid your head on the pillow at night, were you just like, I can't wait to go home?
I was just like,
I'm so thankful I'm alive.
Yeah. Like,
you know,
can
you think back
I
to
was
that?
just like, well, because before, like I said before that, they had been telling us like, and nothing had happened really because it wasn't fighting season. That was like their kickoff of like, hey, let's go. Like we're here. Right. Yeah. We're here and this is fighting season. So like, I guess I was like, okay, well, let's start taking this a little more serious. Like these people are fucking like
serious.
Yeah. I was like, holy shit. Like this is like a life-changing event. Like this is, and I remember feeling like every little noise outside was like, fuck, like, isn't that like, what, you know what I mean? You're on that. I don't think I relaxed for like hours till after that. And I don't think any of us relaxed till hours after that. Yeah. And, I know we went after some dudes that were like part of it after the fact. And, yeah, it was like, I remember during it, the Ranger compound dudes, they slept during the day too. They fucking came over after everyone was dead. And they were like in their fucking pajamas, like their PT uniforms. And I'm like thinking, a little late, fuckers. Like,
what are you guys even?
Yeah, like they're all like fucking in a line. And I'm like, I saw them. And they're like, hey, what's the fuck? Like, I'm like thinking in my head, like, you guys are a little fucking late.
Yeah.
Late to the fucking party.
Yeah.
Dude, 3 people ended up dying. One guy, I'm pretty sure, got hit in the head with a piece of like like concrete from the explosion. I think he was in the gym. Another dude got shot, and then I think an officer got shot or died in the explosion because it was just hard to keep track of like everything, and like it was like mass chaos, but it was like balled up, if that makes sense, in my brain. But yeah, that was like,
so like and not to get too pedantic about all this stuff, but like and I, you know, I'm kind of I don't want to say I romanticize stuff like that, but like I kind of always, you know, you and I talk, I kind of always dig beyond of, you know, what's just on the surface of that. But like the next morning you wake up and what were your thoughts like the next morning?
Let's fucking go get these dudes. Like, let's
do like revenge. You were like,
fuck these guys. Yeah. Like, let's go. And then like after that, it was like, all right, we're flying out, fucking going to Musakale. Our sister platoon, which was, they turned into the MSF. We got spun up for them.
What's the MSF?
I don't even know the nomenclature. They were from I want to say Blackfoot Company. But they were kind of like an FTF, but they had made them, and they these guys, like, they took KIA. Dude got one of our guys got shot in the face. Dude played dead, walked up on him, got shot in the face. And we ended up getting spun up for that. We actually were the ones to bring out the body bag and shit like that. And but it was like after that, it was like, okay, game on. Let's do it. And then we just started going out every single fucking night. Like, and it was good to, like, I shouldn't say it was good to like have a day off every once in a while, but like, let's see how many of these fuckers we can roll up on. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, like I've told you before, everywhere you go, there are bad people and there are good people.
Sure.
And that includes those countries. And unfortunately, there's probably more bad people than there are good people there. But there are some innocent, and like you do see that shit, like especially with like children and shit. And that like that was like this, like you go in a house and this kid's fucking screaming. This dude has nothing to do with any of this shit. And it's like, it's just a wild country. It's a wild experience. And I'm glad. I would not fucking change anything that that for the world, because like I got to meet some of the coolest fucking dudes that I still talk to this day, who I consider like to be my family, and we got to go through that together, and like that, not just that situation, but as a whole, for that whole deployment, we will go down cemented in fucking the history books as being like, okay, we were in that, like we were in that war, we fought in that war. Maybe my kids someday, that'll be in there. Fucking God only knows if they'll be going to school by then, but yeah, hey, do you, like, we look at World War II back then, and
for sure,
like someday down the road, I'll be like, hey, yeah, my great grandpa fought in the Middle East or something like that. So, but yeah, I love all the dudes that I served with. I talked to like a handful of them that are I'm really, really close with. They were a couple of them were just up for a golf outing, and like, yeah, we have the best relationship. And the last thing I'm gonna say is if anybody has like, and I know it's not wartime or anything like that, but if anybody has any aspirations to go into the military and don't really is like a teeter-tottering on going to college, like I would suggest going into the military. You don't have to do anything combat arms. You can do anything you want in the military. You can be a fucking mechanic, dental hygienist, anything you want. You can go to the Air Force, Navy, do whatever. You can be a fucking cool guy, go try for buds, go to SEALs or whatever. But if you are like, everyone, like I said in the first episode, everyone has a stereotype of like your parents think like, oh my God, you're going into the military, you're gonna die. Like, you don't have to do like the I'm on the front lines, I'm getting shot at shit. So, and the best part, I would say the worst part about being in the Army wasn't, and nobody really touches on this, and that because I do watch a lot of podcasts, nobody touches on this, and I've thought about this for a long time, and I've told my friends this. The worst part about being in the Army for me was growing a relationship with these dudes, sleeping with them, showering with them, doing everything with them, doing the shittiest shit I'm probably ever going to do in my life, sleeping in the worst situations, being in the worst situations. And then once you get out, you're dispersed back to the real world, and you're never close to those people again. Yeah, I'm close to them. I'm close to them over my phone.
Sure.
So you're dispersed from those people that you literally just made your family. And that, I think, is not hit on enough. And that is the worst part for me about being in the military, is that I grew such a close relationship with those dudes over years of serving. And I think like that's hard on people, because you don't have that. You can't just go next door and fuck, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And like in the barracks, you can't just go next door and be like, yo, fucker, what's up? You know what I mean? It's over a phone call now. We're all getting older and we're all having kids and everything else. But I love those dudes, and I would fucking do anything for them. So
I appreciate you taking the time and talking about that. Like I said, we could probably touch on maybe the video in another episode or something like that. This one's going to be a monster episode, but I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to Brian's story. Get down in the comments, ask him questions, whatever. We'll touch on it later. But Brian, appreciate you, appreciate your service, appreciate your friendship. You're a good dude. So till next week, see you guys.
See ya.